One of the surprise packets for me over the past couple of months has been the Huawei Ascend Mate 7, a flagship 6-inch device from the Chinese OEM that's actually exceeded my expectations in a number of areas. Most notably, the quality of this handset is higher than I would have expected, considering I'd previously associated Huawei with making cheaper budget handsets that didn't have as nice a feel as this particular device. It's Tim Sheezy here for TechSpot, and this is my review of said Huawei Ascend Mate 7. It's a bit of an interesting name, but it's quite a decent device, which I have right here with me today. And the main thing that struck me first when I took it out of the box was the build quality. This is a fully aluminium clad device. There's a little bit of plastic admittedly at the top and bottom to allow those wireless radios inside to breathe, but the shiny silver metallic look of this back panel, which wraps around the edges, looks and feels fantastic. It definitely rivals devices like the HTC One M8 and certainly as well the iPhone 6 Plus, although that device may be a little bit better in terms of its build quality. That said, you get things like a fingerprint sensor, which is actually functional. You can simply tap on it and it will unlock and open this device without any sort of error messages, or at least not usually error messages like I experienced on the Galaxy S5. It also comes with quite responsive power buttons on the right hand side, which you can press in a perfectly ergonomic position for this very large handset, which of course is down to the 6-inch display that makes the handset quite large. You will need a very specific grip to hold this device comfortably, and using it one-handed can be tricky, especially accessing the top corners in that one-handed use case. But after a few weeks of usage, I don't think it'll be as tricky as you might expect, even though it is larger than devices like the iPhone 6 Plus and also the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. And the fact that it's quite slim and reasonably light for this sort of device makes it that little bit easier to use, as well as the fact that the display actually comes with very thin bezels, especially at the top and bottom of the display, where you'll only find things like the notification LED and the sensor array, which are all features that I quite like. When it comes to that 6-inch display, it actually is quite good quality. Not as good as some of the latest LCDs like we're seeing on the Xperia Z3, and not as vibrant as the Galaxy Note 4's display, or as crisp, because the Galaxy Note 4 comes with a Quad HD display while this is just 1080p. But for most aspects, you'll find that the IPS LCD included with the Huawei Ascend Mate 7 is perfectly acceptable for normal usage. It comes with generally quite good color quality. The 1080p resolution is of no concern, and text and images look quite sharp on it, and viewing angles and brightness are typically quite good as well. I wasn't as convinced by the performance of the Ascend Mate 7 from a number of standpoints. Most notably, the high silicon Kirin 925 chipset that is found within the Ascend Mate 7 doesn't have the same level of high-end performance as you'd expect from devices that are powered by either the Snapdragon 801 or Snapdragon 805 that we're starting to see in a lot of those high-end devices released on the market at the moment. The CPU performance is around the same level as the Snapdragon 800, but the GPU performance goes back to the Snapdragon 600 on devices like the Galaxy S4, and NAND performance also isn't that great, despite the fact that it does come with things like Category 6 LTE. You're not getting that same performance level as you would from a high-end device. Now, we do have full benchmarks in the written review on TechSpot.com, so I definitely recommend that you go check those out for the full performance figures. That said, performance around the operating system in apps is generally quite adequate for this device. Again, the performance, especially multitasking, isn't as good as those higher devices, but it's definitely not a slow device. It's not laggy, and I think most people who buy it will tend to be quite happy with the performance that they get out of it, unless maybe they're doing some high-end gaming on games like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, where it might require that extra GPU power if it was powered by a Snapdragon 800 to run that 1080p display. But one of the things that the chipset does provide is generally very good battery life. The 4100 mAh battery is perfectly fine for multiple day usage, and generally speaking, I found it to be quite a good performer when it comes to all the sort of battery tasks. Even if I was using the device heavily, there was really no problem getting enough juice out of this device, even though it has got a 6-inch display in it, which does suck up a bit of power. While I don't think the performance of the Huawei Ascend Mate 7 will bother people too much, one area that I can see being annoying to people is the camera performance. The 13 megapixel sensor on the back is provided by Sony, so it's an Exmor RS sensor with an f2.0 lens, but the image signal processor lets it down significantly in most areas, delivering not as good quality photos in strong lighting or even low lighting where it's typically quite bad compared to some of those high-end devices like the Note 4, the iPhone 6, which people might be considering against this device. The camera also can't focus very close, meaning that you can't take good macro shots of things like flowers or even food and documents. It runs into issues with these sort of photos. So generally speaking, I just can't recommend the camera on this device, and you might need to pack a dedicated point and shoot if you really want to capture high quality images of your favorite memories. And I do recommend, again, checking out the full review on TechSpot where we have a whole range of camera samples. On a completely different front, I did like some aspects of the software included on the Ascend Mate 7. It's not got the same nice material design as you'll find on Android 5.0, but the Emotion UI that Huawei has included on this device is quite nice in terms of its visual layout and ease of use among apps. The fact that they've removed the app drawer is something that I'm not completely happy with, but generally speaking it doesn't affect the device too much. And things like the split notification pane with a timeline view for your notifications and a whole tab dedicated to setting shortcuts is quite nice. A lot of the apps don't use the full 6-inch display as much as I would like, and this is definitely a problem with getting those large display devices. But things like the pop-up windows that come up when you get messages alerting you to the fact that you've got a message with the text and options to reply being right there is quite handy. The keyboard is relatively easy to use, but one of my most favorite features about the software in the Ascend Mate 7 is some of the things that you can dial down and control as far as app background usage is concerned. You can completely restrict some apps from running in the background, which will inevitably save battery, and some other apps you can completely restrict from either your Wi-Fi or mobile networks. So for example, if you have an app that uses quite a lot of mobile data and you don't want it doing that, you can simply untick mobile data for that app and it will only work in Wi-Fi. In other apps that you might be concerned using internet privileges when you don't want it to, you can completely restrict your internet usage for these devices. So these are some of the ways you can sort of dial down the functionality in the Ascend Mate 7, and that's some of the features I was really quite happy that Huawei sort of innovated on, something that I haven't seen in devices before. And this brings me to the conclusion: is the Huawei Ascend Mate 7 worth your hard-earned cash? Well, this device will set you back $525 unlocked and off contract, which does present quite a significant saving compared to the Galaxy Note 4 and iPhone 6 Plus, which will set you back $200 or even $300 more. The one thing that I could see about this device that might prevent you from making an immediate purchase is the camera performance. The camera simply isn't that good for a flagship device, and I definitely think this is an aspect that Huawei needs to improve on in future devices. However, other aspects of this device, like the fantastic build quality, the great display, the good enough performance and software, and excellent battery life, are all reasons to choose the Ascend Mate 7 if you're trying to be a bit more budget friendly than going with something like the Note 4 or iPhone 6 Plus, but still want a phablet class device with a large 6-inch display that still comes with a high-end flagship experience. And that's it for this review of the Ascend Mate 7. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to go check out the full written review on techspot.com, where we've got some more benchmarks, camera samples, and more in-depth analysis on this particular device. Subscribe to this YouTube channel for more video reviews, unboxings, hands-on, and more coming shortly. Thanks guys. This has been a TechSpot video review.